and settle in. It's going to be a fun show. We've asked some people to join us today to help paint a picture for you of the story we're telling. We are having some of our awesome Washington's Armor cast members on here in just a few minutes. We will also hear from Tyler Smith, who is our composer, and listen to some of the challenges he's had. Also, we've got Jonathan Ritchie from Wall Builders here to talk about the authenticity of the show and the history of George Washington, the true history. And later, we will reveal who the actor from the series The Chosen is. We just recently cast him on Washington's Armor, and we're so excited to have him. I've never even met him, so we get to see him on Skype. So I can't wait to share with you the amazing journey that George Washington went on, as well as my journey and the journey of our cast and crew and what we've been on this far in making this film. We've had a lot of ups and downs, but we are 65% finished, yay. So the trilogy, this is a 3-volume trilogy, and this story includes 3 battles, the meeting of the love of his life, and all the miracles that kept him safe so that he could fulfill the ultimate purpose, which was to become the father of this great nation. Washington had an invisible armor surrounding him, an infallible God working in a fallible individual, which is not unlike our own story. This story takes place 20 years prior to the Revolutionary War, and it is untold in our generation in the fact that this history books prior to 1920, it was taken out and removed. And I know God wants this story back in the history books. And so we're currently working on volume 1 of the trilogy called The Journey, and that's what we're focusing on this Indiegogo campaign. We need to raise the funds to complete it. So please help us preserve history and pass it on to the next generation. If you become a Washington's Patriot, you will be doing just that. Becoming a Washington's Patriot means that you have given to this cause to help us preserve history and create great content that does not tear down American values, but builds it up.
Where, madam, do you get your facts?
'Tis in your journal, sir. 'Tis all in your journal.
Some would have you to believe today that all of this is the work of chance and not that of divine providence.
Good morning, Major Washington. His Lordship said that you are to insist that the governor send you with a letter addressing Mr. Christopher Guest.
They butchered him in front of his wife and children so that no provincial nor Indian not loyal to the French would dare venture to go where you and the governor would have us go.
Many in the House believe your trip to the French Commandant to be theatrics, to induce public sentiment both here and abroad for war.
How, George, do you respond to this indictment, as some would say, to be unreasonable reasoning in the age of reason, sir?
Be it of any consequence if the boy dies in the wilderness.
He led us into Ottawa territory. That Indian will find his brothers, and they will hunt us down.
Ye eat, and ye think like a boy.
What is your name, madam?
To you, my dear boy, I am simply Sally.
Say your goodbyes, Major.
Sit nay, Mr. Gist. We are not only emissaries of the crown, but ambassadors of the divine. We shall cross, and without delay.
Willie Molina, how are you today?
I'm better than I deserve. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Wonderful. I can hear you perfect. You look wonderful. Good morning.
You do too. It's so good to see you. This is the man that plays young George Washington, in case you didn't know. So I'm just filling you in. So tell me what you've been up to. You've been really busy lately.
Yes. This morning in specific, I've been hanging out with my 4 boys. Just played Battleship with my son Frankie, and I destroyed his battleships.
He probably didn't like that.
And no, it was bad. He only got one of my battleships. I got all 4 of his, and I felt like the father of a country. I felt like a general. You know what I mean? No, I've been in Georgia working on a feature film with the Kendrick brothers, and I've been in. Before that, I was working on The Chosen. So I have been busy since about the beginning of October. And then obviously we shot for a couple of weeks in January. That was great. And I actually shot a Western in Texas in December. So yeah, I've been busy since October, which I'm grateful for, because there was obviously some slow periods with COVID.
That's right. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations. You're doing a lot. I wanted to ask you a few questions. So what does it mean to you to play George Washington?
Oh gosh, I was sent that question this week, and I've had a lot of time to think about it, and there's no easy way for me to answer it other than, as an American and as a believer, there's only a handful of people that I'm just like, man, if you could ever try to tell the story, whether you're in a second grade classroom reading a biography or putting on, a wardrobe and getting to tell the story for the screen. There's not really anybody that I can think of that I would rather portray off the top of my head. Maybe Billy Graham. I've actually read his bio. I've been working on it. Yeah, that'd be a great one. They did it a couple of years ago. But anyways, yeah, so it just means a world to me. And then the more that I thought it meant a lot. And then upon doing some more research, I was like, goodness gracious, this guy he was far from perfect. He was far from perfect. But when you look at his life and the beginning, middle, and end, it's unbelievable.
So what is something that you've learned? What is a specific thing that you've learned about George Washington since you took this role?
One thing that was one of the most impactful things I learned, one of the most overwhelming and humbling things that I learned was, he didn't have a classical education. And so he focused primarily on math. He had a strength in math. He understood math. And from the age of about 16, leading up to where we start to really tell our story, for a lot of that time, he was on his own surveying in Virginia and surrounding areas of that region. And I just think about sending my son when he's 16, 17 with, a compass and, papers and pencils and just his backpack and his gear, and saying, okay, go make it, go make it once again. And I'm not just saying that. First, upon research, I realized I didn't know any of this. I didn't remember learning about anything outside of the fabled cherry tree, and then the general of the Revolutionary War, and obviously the first president, and the father of our country. But that didn't really mean anything to me. It's like when you have a relationship with someone and you get to know them, you start to learn all their, the nuts and bolts and what makes them who they are. You're like, wow, this is why I love this person, even with their faults or whatever. And when I started to learn about that, I thought, man, what an opportunity to be able to serve on a project where so many folks, and especially with public schools, and I'm not trying to, but we just didn't learn it. And I went to a great public school. I went to a fantastic public school in Waco, Texas, one of the stronger ones in that whole area. And I did not learn about any of it. So for the opportunity to be able to tell that story and potentially fill a major gap in students' lives and young people's lives and older people's lives that didn't know this. I've talked to some people that know quite a bit. And I didn't know that. I didn't know, about the Battle of Monongahela and what that involved. So
I know there's so much. I didn't know it either until I read the book, Bulletproof George Washington. Then I learned all this. And then once you start diving in and researching, and it's just amazing. And there's so many writings, so we can get it pretty close to exactly what it would have been, which is amazing. So what are some of the challenges you face playing George Washington?
Wow.
Well, first,
right. Well, I think we're going to get into some of it possibly later, but first and foremost, my first experience with Washington's armor was in late February in upstate New York. So for anybody who's from the Northeast or who has traveled quite a bit, late February in upstate New York is brutal, and we did it. And so that was such a beautiful masterclass in, okay, this is what, first of all, his life looked like, and this is what this project's going to potentially feel like and look like. And so you've got the absolute bitter cold. There was times where, you know, we had these period gloves, and I purposely was like, you know, I know for a fact that he didn't always have his gloves. And there was times when he took them off, you know, either by choice or didn't, you know, needed to go trade for some more in the next town. And so I wanted to feel what that was like. And then, I mean, building a raft, even acting like we actually built the raft, guys. Tim Ross and I actually built that raft. It only took us 4 months. I'm just kidding. No,
dragging the logs, dragging those.
Yeah, and then the snow gets in your boots and in your socks, in your wool socks, you know, which are, you know, reflective of that period. And it's so that was like a gut punch. Like, okay, that was humbling. That's for one. And then there's just so many variables, dealing with smoke, dealing with horses, dealing with needy directors, you know, just all kinds of things.
Or needy actors. I mean, you know.
No, we actually didn't have any upset.
Okay, we'll go with that. Okay, so speaking of, we have perks for our Indiegogo campaign, and we have one with you that's really cool. Have you seen that yet? That your perk?
I'd like to lie and say I haven't, but I have, and I'm probably more excited about it than anybody else.
Well, tell us about it. Do you know what? If you know what it is, tell us about it.
Yes. So we will actually be on set where we will be shooting the command tent, Washington's command tent, and we will have an opportunity together to learn about and shoot actual period muskets, and partake in one of his favorite meals, you know, a nighttime snack after a long day of working and preparing and organizing. You know, one of his favorite meals that he enjoyed. We're going to get to do that and have some fellowship and shoot some muskets, which I don't know about you guys, but prior to this project, I had never seen in person a period musket, and they are unbelievable. It's really, really cool.
And they're really heavy as well.
Well, not for me.
Well,
but
me,
for some people,
yeah.
For some people, they might be heavy. You know.
But for you, it's just light. It's like carrying a broom. So we have a social media question. And speaking of muskets, did you actually get to shoot any muskets?
I never fired a live. No, I never fired a live musket.
Not yet. But you
Not
know
yet,
what?
no.
You're about to, because we're about to shoot the Jumonville scene. Oh wait, I think you're gonna have a pistol, I believe. Actually,
I will grab a musket and shoot it, whether it's.
So you're gonna actually shoot a musket.
Nobody's
and a lot of
stopping
other people.
Nobody's stopping me. So you're gonna have to get that musket from my kung fu grip. I will shoot that musket.
Yeah, you're going to shoot a musket. Okay. We'll put that into the schedule, somebody. So speaking of the weather, too, one of the biggest challenges working on this film was the weather conditions, whether it be cold, very, very cold, or very hot. We've had both. So after this BTS New York snow conditions, we're going to see that. We're going to meet one of Washington's most significant companions.
This is probably the most amazing experiences I've had in 30 years of doing this.
Action.
From the absolute first moment that I walked into the callback, I was like, this is home.
First off, it's the acceptance that you feel when you walk in and meet every single individual that's on this crew.
We started out as friends, and we've become colleagues and friends and brothers.
So then to go and learn and do research, and then to realize all this incredible facts and experience and truths of his life, and then to know I'm going to get to live that, embody that, to get to put that stuff on and try to take a swing at that, it has been an absolute exhilarating joy.
Most exciting part about becoming and playing Christopher Guest for me is learning about the real man. He lived on the frontier, survived the frontier. He lived among the Native Americans of many different tribes, and he was a great guide and a great mentor and friend to George Washington. This is a man who is searching all the time. He's a guide, so he always knows where he is, but he's always searching personally. So the more I learn about the real man, the more fascinated I become playing him.
One of the things that I'm most excited about in the role that I'm playing easily is the atmosphere. Not just the atmosphere as far as Mother Nature and the beauty goes, the atmosphere as far as the positive energy. To be able to walk in and feel accepted as if I'm meant to be there, you can't put it into words, honestly. I mean, I'm so honored to be a part of it. Just of all the people they could have chosen, they chose me, man, and it's wow. It's a blessing.
The most challenging part about playing Christopher Gist so far is the weather.
When you're standing in between sets, that's when it hits you, like, oh my goodness, I cannot feel my toes. It makes it a lot easier when you have people like Brandy Alexander and Levi who have hand warmers. I have Saul bringing me hot coffee. I have, you know, everyone making sure that I'm hydrated and things of that nature. So it's great. This crew, man, it's a family.
As far as the crew, man, geez, it has been such a joy. Adam and Aaron and Theresa and Tammy, people like that, real people, good people who fear the Lord, and everybody's a servant, you know? It's humbling, man. It's good. It's good. It's good to see, especially in today's world.
That's the most powerful thing working with Tammy and being a part of this, is because we all sit down for devotion and dinner at the same time, and it's all within the power of Jesus Christ. You know, it's awesome to be a part of, for sure.
Hi, Tim. How are you today?
I'm so good. I know I'm not supposed to wear black, but under my brown shirt is my Washington's armor shirt.
Oh, well, that's perfect. That's perfect.
I had to have
So, thank you for coming on today. So what are you doing? What are you up to, Tim Ross?
I actually, here's my Yorktown mug. I actually just got back from working on a job in Williamsburg, Colonial Williamsburg, which was incredible to just to be surrounded by all of that history and
yeah, I
that
love going there.
It's such an amazing place. I've been working a fair amount, and
that's awesome.
and
That's
in
awesome.
some of the historical same time periods. So it's been pretty cool.
Awesome, awesome. Well, that just prepares you for, you know, doing some more with us, right?
Oh, I can't wait. I really can't wait.
Well, we have a special guest that we want to include in our conversation. So, do y'all know who it might be? Oh, there he is.
What's up, guys? Look at those beautiful faces, man. So
What
good to
the
see
heck?
both of you.
June.
So good to see both of you. You look great. Well, Willie, you look great. Tim, we got some work to do.
You're going to get your comeuppance here sooner than later. So
Hey,
I'd be
no spoiler alerts. No spoiler alerts, okay? Willie, get on them.
Don't you touch that wardrobe behind you, sir. Please, just don't touch it. Don't touch it.
We've learned. It's good to see both of you guys. It's great to be sitting along with Tammy right here, a part of this. This is very fantastic. Super blessed all the way around.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, I wanted to have the three of you. It needed to be the three of you because this is how we started.
Yes.
The very first scene that we shot was in New York in the snow, and it was the three of you, and it was like you just clicked immediately and bonded immediately, and then it's like you've been brothers ever since.
Yep.
So tell us about that.
Well, actually, before that, I was going to tell that story. You know, I was so excited. I'm nervous, couldn't wait. And I'm walking through the airport, and I look over. I get to my terminal, my gate, and I look over and immediately know that it's Willie and JP right there. And before we got on the plane, I felt like we were brothers. Like before we got on the plane. We just stood there talking, and I knew that we all had the same kind of servant desire to tell this story, and we had all sort of been brought together, it felt like to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the brotherhood started then, Tammy, before we got on the plane to come to New York.
These guys have been fantastic. The joking started from instantly. Instantly, we started bashing on each other like real brothers do, you know?
Yeah. And then they would come to my room almost every night after we'd shoot, and we would talk, and we would get to know each other. We'd talk about the day we just had and the day that was coming, soon. And we talked about things like, how I lost 2 of my fingers to frostbite for Tammy for this shoot. No, I have them. I'm kidding. They're all there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was hard, wasn't it? That cold. I was worried about y'all getting frostbite. I mean, you had the least amount of clothes on.
It was brutal. I think I was so much worried about the frostbite as much as how much hair I lost every time the pendant kept getting pulled from me. It seemed like hair and Tim's grasp every time would just pull out, and every time I would just I'd feel the hair come out. But you know what? It was great. It was all part of the show. It looked real.
Wanted it to be real.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Excellent. Method acting for sure.
Yep. And there's a lot to come, a lot more to come with all 3 of you.
Absolutely.
Too. So we're going to be shooting. Excited.
Super excited.
So I want to ask you, how does it feel knowing that the Indian Guide was only written for a small part until we met you?
Yeah, it's a blessing. I think it just goes to show that if you have an impact on people beyond just your words, if you can come and create a sense of joy and happiness on set with people and just make people laugh and just have a good time, that goes so much farther in your life than just being a good actor. It's one thing to be, I can act very well, but then also kind of be snooty and do my own thing and just go back to my own space. I'm not that type of person, and neither one of you guys, I think you can attest to this. We like to be out there and engage with people, with laughter. I mean, of course, there are times where we do need a little bit of our own woosah time, of course, but for the most part, that's one thing that I can really attribute to being able to still be a part of this show is the fact that I've given love to you guys and I make you guys laugh, and so for you to continue to write me in and bring me back on, it's just, man, it's so much more than I've ever fathomed. I'm so grateful for it because I'm already supposed to be gone, you guys. When Gis let me go the first time, I was supposed to be gone, but guess what? I'm still here. I'm still causing havoc.
You're going to be there till the bitter end.
Oh my gosh, it's such a blessing. Yes, it's great. So fortunate for sure.
Which is really funny because we talked about that, if you guys remember.
Yeah.
In New York, we were like, man, hang on a second. This needs to continue to be a thing, and then continue to be a thing.
Yeah, look at it.
I don't know if you guys remember that. We absolutely did.
Yeah.
And it was also, I want to say, circle back before we continue, is watching those videos. I've seen them, some of them. It's been a while, but watching those videos, man, I could taste it and smell it, and it was pretty powerful to go back and watch it, and then to be able to discuss it with you guys right now, it's pretty neat, pretty special.
It's come back tenfold, man.
That's awesome.
Come back tenfold. Guess what?
Hey, don't get Willie freestyling right now.
Guess
we didn't pay you for that.
As I could tell.
He was about to.
You guys, I've missed y'all. It's been so good being with y'all. So there was a historical painting that you found in New York, and you wanted to recreate this, right? Do y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Willie, I found the photo and then I showed it to Willie and showed it to you guys, and you guys were instantly on the train of recreating it. Like we couldn't go without recreating it. I think we filmed maybe 8 to 9 hours that day, and then we continued to.
There's a picture of it.
Yeah, there it is. Look.
Today. Yep.
So we found it, and I instantly told you guys about it, and we got with the photographer, and I was like, hey, even though we're tired, we're freezing, we still got to go and take 5 minutes to recreate this photo, and I'm so grateful that we did because it's such an iconic
Shout
photo.
out to Sarah.
Yeah,
shout out to Sarah Burns, man. That was so cool. That was so cool. Long day.
Man, she did some amazing work, that girl, too. She was great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Willie, we don't have very much time with you. I know you need to go be with your family, but thank you so much for being on here. Tim, you stay with us. I want to talk about some challenges that we had, and Jeremy's going to stay for a minute. But I love you, Willie, and I will see you soon.
Love you, Willie.
I love you guys. Before I jump off here, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's put in work to be here. And I really, really appreciate all of those who either are watching currently or will take the time later to do so. Cross-check everything. Go check it out. Go read about young George Washington. Listen to a biography podcast. It's absolutely incredible, and it's all legit. And so if you want to join with us through any way, shape, or form, we are grateful, and we love you. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye, Willie. Love you.
He's awesome, and he's amazing on set. He He does. He goes and talks to everybody on set and encourages people. He's such an encourager, amazing guy. I'm so glad that he's playing Washington.
He walks the walk. He's not one of those people that just says it. He actually goes out there and does it, and it shows. So thank you, Willie.
Yeah. So Tim, on our last shoot, we had an incident that happened, and that was your Gist cabin, because you played Christopher Gist, and it burned down.
Yes, it did. Quickly.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it was such a hard thing to deal with in the moment, and I hate to say it was a personal loss for me for several reasons. One, I've never had an entire structure built for a character I was playing, and there was something magical about that, and some magical scenes took place in that cabin. But you know, I did a lot of research. I became so fascinated with Christopher Gist, and I researched him as much as I could find. He was met with challenges like this. His family, he lived about an hour from where I am right now, and they had to go. They had to leave. They were on the frontier, and he was surveying. He was either surveying or he was on one of his journeys with Washington. He took several, and he came back and his family was gone. And he had to go find them. They had fled back to, I think, central Virginia, because they were on the frontier and these kinds of things happen. And they were so resilient, and they were so, and never did complain or say, you know, it's someone's against us or our fate is. They just
carried on.
Carried on, yeah, fascinating.
They did, and that's what we had to do on the film shoot, because we had to carry on and continue going that day. No, you had to leave because you didn't get to finish out your week, and neither did anybody else in that scene. But we had other stuff to do, and we needed to just, you know, pull up our bootstraps and get on with it.
And you know, one of the things that was inspiring to me was that, you know, the team kind of rallied. And instead of really bemoaning it, we just started talking about, well, how do we work around this? How do we create? How do we become creative and just come up with adaptations in new ways? And I'm excited. I can't wait to see, you know, I know there's been a lot of discussion and adaptation and rewrites and things like that.
Yeah,
and, you know, it'll be exciting to do and see.
Yeah, I think, you know, God causes all things to work together for good for those who love him and are called, and we're called to do this. And we love him, and so I know that he is going to work that out for our good. It's going to be better than it was before. Yeah. And I'm just grateful that no one got hurt in that.
Absolutely.
And we did lose equipment, props. There was a musket in there.
Yeah.
You know, but that's nothing compared to a life, you know.
Right, absolutely. And, you know, speaking of being brought together by God, by divine providence, I felt that from the start. The first time you and I met, we met over a computer. And, you know, I remember excitingly telling you that I was such a history nerd and I knew all about George Washington and the bullets through his coat. And it was like I was meant to be here and to, you know, and to know you and to tell this story that I, on my own time, I go and see all the time. I go see these places. I've been to Jumonville when I was on a job up there. I went by myself. I was alone. It was snowing. It was cold. And I was out there envisioning everything that had really happened with Colonel Washington. Cool. And I'd send you guys stuff all the time. I send you pictures all the time. Hey, here, look at where I am.
I know. I want to go to those places. Yeah. It's amazing that you get to do all that because you're up there in that neck of the woods. We're down here in Texas.
Just feel like we were all brought together. It's so
I do too.
It's so clear.
Absolutely.
So why do you think most people don't know who Christopher Gist is?
Boy, I have pondered that question, you know, in all of my studies of him. The thing that jumped out to me the most was at least one historian saying that he did everything Daniel Boone became famous for 15 years before Daniel Boone. and that he knew Daniel Boone. He probably said, if you're going to survey this country, young man, look out for this area, go here, do that. He guided him. He was a guide. But I think that people don't know about him because he wasn't seeking a kind of a fame or a success. He was just doing the thing. He was naturally a great guide, surveyor, and an Indian agent. The tribes trusted him and respected him. And I think of him, I know this is kind of odd, but I think of him as that middle school teacher or high school teacher that someone famous looks back and says, that person got me on the path that I was meant to be. And I think he was meant to help young George Washington become the person that he was going to become. He was in the shadows, he was behind the scenes, and that was okay. He was there to, and I've read about their journey. It really was just those two guys for a lot of it. And I think they became companions, and I think he served as a guide, as a mentor.
I do too. I love that. So we have a social media question we want to get to real quick.
Okay.
Did you all do your own stunts?
Okay, so the answer is yes. I've actually done a lot of stunt work, but I had such a cool stunt double guy on the river when we were doing the raft, and I remember watching him 2 or 3 times, and then I whispered to Willie, I'm like, we on this raft. And I remember going up to you, Tammy, and saying, I'm getting on the raft. The guy's
I wanted
great,
you to get on the raft, actually.
I wanted you to fall in. Yeah.
Get on the raft, get on the horse.
Well, I didn't because he's not supposed to, but.
And if I fall, when you
Willie
told me something fall, I remember saying to you, I'm doing all of my own stunts in the battle. And you said, okay, well, you fall off the horse. And I go, except for that stunt. All of them except for that.
Yeah. And this guy, he's an athlete. I mean, he just,
Let's
whatever.
go.
Whatever.
We're going to run. We're going to climb trees. I'm down for whatever, man. Come on. Come on, people.
Amazing.
Let's make it happen. I was born for this. Look at me. Let's do it.
I've done all of my own stunts and almost everything I've ever done. I've fallen downstairs. I've gotten pulled on a harness back into, getting pushed and fallen back into a big rack full of, potato chips and stuff. I've done all of them.
Yeah,
I've been shot 5 times in a TV show.
I found that the actors usually want to do their stunts. They
Absolutely.
think they're invincible. I think. But, so I've got to say bye to you. We've got our next guest coming up, but thank you so much for being on here. It was great to see you. And in a few minutes, we're going to see Jonathan from Wall Builders. So
cool. I'm going to stay. I'll watch you guys. Have fun.
Okay.
Most people know the name George Washington, and yet we know very little about him. So here are 10 facts about George Washington. Number 1, contrary to popular opinion, George Washington did not chop down a cherry tree. Number 2, George Washington said he was most embarrassed about his lack of education and his bad teeth. Number 3, George Washington became commander of the colonial forces when John Adams, his soon-to-be vice president, nominated him to be the commander of the military. Number 4, George Washington was a head and shoulders taller than his troops, and how that worked, at him only being 6'2 3/4, most Americans were 5'1 to 5'3, so he was taller. Number 5, George Washington encouraged all of his officers and the soldiers to attend church every Sunday. Number 6, he would not allow his troops to swear in the military. Number 7, he's the only president in American history to be elected unanimously. Number 8, after George Washington was sworn in as president, he added, "So help me God," which became part of what is now the oath of the presidential office. Number 9, he was a vestryman at his church who was in charge of helping take church money and providing for the poor and needy in the community. And finally, number 10, he was killed by his doctors from a practice known as bloodletting, where actually they would take razor blades to drain blood because they thought he was sick because of bad blood. They drained so much blood that he died. There's a lot more to the story of George Washington. Fortunately, there's a series called Washington's Armor. You can learn a lot more about his story and the amazing providence of God in his life by finding the series.
Well, hi, Jonathan. This is Jonathan Ritchie.
Howdy, good morning.
Thank you for coming. He is with Wall Builders, and Wall Builders does a great job to preserve history. Y'all are amazing, and you've been very influential in my life and in learning, you know, about this story, because there's so much to learn. There's so much research, and these guys have actually done it. So thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Sure. So how did you get connected with Wall Builders?
Well, I've been working with them for about 4 years now as one of their chief historians and writers, and I got connected because I knew Tim, who you just saw. We met through some of his speaking engagements that he used to do up at a Christian camp up in Arkansas. So after college, he had me come on, and I've been working with him since.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad, because you've been around here and helping us a lot, so we really appreciate that. So what does it mean to you to preserve our history?
Well, really it's going back and uncovering the truth, right? What really happened, not what somebody's opinion is on what happened or how I feel about it, but trying to investigate what really did happen. What were those people thinking? What were they trying to do? What was their intention and their purpose? And then I think also bringing it back to life, because right, if I go in and read all the books, that's great, that's good for me, but if I don't tell anybody about it, then what does it really do to preserve that, right? Because maybe I'll know it for now, but like even what you guys are doing with Washington's armor, like that's a vital part of the idea of preservation. Is let's not just learn it, but let's share it, because there's so much to learn and really great lessons to learn from the past.
There sure is, and we need to know the good and bad of history.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we know what not to repeat, and then the things that we do, want to take from that.
Positive lessons and negative lessons. There's, and Washington is such an amazing historical figure to research. There's over 100 volumes of his writings that have survived. Letters upon letters. So it's not one of those things where it's like, oh man, I wish I knew what Washington, thought or said on this. It's like, actually, you can you can spend some time and read, maybe not all 100 volumes, but he left behind an incredible legacy, an incredible, trail to follow and learn about him.
He did. He really did. Well, so one of the things that comes up occasionally is Washington had slaves, and we don't condone this in any way. It was absolutely wrong, and it was a sin problem, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And beyond that, it was a world problem at that time. If you go prior to really the American Revolution, there is not a culture or society that condemns slavery. It's worldwide. Even today, it's worldwide. There's over 40 million people in slavery today, with the majority of those being in Asia and Africa. But with Washington and the founding generation, you see, especially Washington, begin to lead this movement, this national movement against slavery. In fact, the abolitionists, by the time of the Civil War, were frequently quoting George Washington's stance against slavery. So he was born into a slaveholding family, and so he inherited a lot of slaves and didn't have a choice in the matter. But when he died, the laws of Virginia had a loophole, because generally they wouldn't allow you to free your slaves unless you paid an exorbitant fee, an exorbitant sum, which practically nobody was able to pay. And so there was a loophole in the law that allowed people to free their slaves upon their death. And so Washington freed basically as many slaves as he legally could when he passed away, and then also he instituted some pretty revolutionary measures as well, like he paid the vast majority of his slaves for their labor, which again, that's not something that you do. And then additionally in his will, he stipulated that if any of the slaves were older or infirm and couldn't get a job, that his estate would continue to provide, pay for any medical, food, etc., for the rest of their lives. So Washington, while obviously not perfect, in many respects, we see him move the ball down the field and prepare the way for abolition in a lot of respects. And some of the very first laws he passed forbid the expansion of slavery into the Northwest Territory, and so you see him even in a legislative and official position also start forbidding and restricting slavery in that regard as well.
Right. So I just think it's wrong to focus on all the negative, you know, of, you know, having the slaves, which is a negative, but then there was also a lot of good with it, you know,
Yeah,
and good
absolutely.
with what he did towards the abolition of it. So
Him and guys like the Marquis de Lafayette and Alexander Hamilton really begin to expand and give power behind the anti-slavery movement by their action and by their writings. I mean, you can go through and find some really strong anti-slavery and abolitionist writings in Washington's letters, where he says, you know, would to God, you know, that he would change the hearts of more people so that we can abolish slavery and get rid of it. And it's like, wow, that's not at all the Washington that I learned about in school, but it's the Washington that really was.
Yeah, the truth about Washington. Awesome. Well, I wanted to, so this is the book that actually prompted me to make the film, Washington's Armor. And this is the story of the Bulletproof George Washington, which was written by David Barton. And this was several years ago. But I got a hold of it, and it really, I just never had heard that story. So it's an amazing story. The new book that Wall Builders has out, this is by David and Tim Barton, The American Story in the New Beginnings, which I'm also reading this one. I love it. And it's one of our perks on our Indiegogo campaign. So you can go on there and you can, you know, give your amount to help us with this film while you're getting these great books. So they're awesome.
I mean, I'm biased, but I think they're pretty good.
They are very good. So did you help in the research? And
Yes, I wasn't around for the Bulletproof George Washington, but I helped a lot with the American story. It's got over 3,000 footnotes in it, predominantly going back to primary sources. So it's a lot of footnotes for an academic book is about 300. So
wow.
we beat that by a little bit of a margin. So there's just a lot of history packed in there.
That's awesome. Well, I love it. Where do you see yourself going in the future?
I mean, wherever the Lord takes me. 4 years ago, I never would have imagined that I would have been at Wall Builders, you know, studying, you know, American history. I'm, you know, about halfway through a PhD program right now, so I'm earning a doctorate, and, you know, really, you know, studying more about the past and fighting the battles for true American history, because it really is that so many people just haven't been exposed to the truth, whether it's, you know, they didn't know or, you know, it was more intentional, but there's so many people, and what I find and really encouraged by is when you show people the truth, when you know, say, hey, well, why do you think that? Where did you get that? When people learn, oh, wait a second, there's more to the story, they become so passionate about finding truth and sharing that truth.
Yeah.
And so that's really encouraging. And that's why, you know, projects like this are so important and vital, because it exposes, you know, the next generation and more people to the fact that there's more to the story.
Yes, that's awesome. That is so true. So why is the Bulletproof George Washington story not in history books today?
It's a great question. I don't know why, because it's so amazing. And I think it maybe goes back to, it's one of those things that if you don't believe in God, it's almost impossible to explain. You know, how do you explain this guy who is, you know, head and shoulders taller than everybody else, who is from, you know, the backwoods of Virginia, going through all these hardships, all these, you know, incredible difficulties and dangers, and coming out, you know, unscathed, coming out, you know, a very devout and sincere believer, and then growing into this, you know, unbelievably important historical figure, you know, without some guiding hand of providence, which is what Washington said, you know. And so it's one of those stories that, you know, I don't want to spoil anything if people are gonna watch it, but it's one of those stories that, I mean, it's just awe-inspiring.
Yeah,
and even
it really is.
Even as I read, you know, George Washington's writings, and recently did a lot of research into, you know, what pastors had to say about Washington, you know, and his faith. It's astounding to me to see, you know, the sincerity and the depth of his character throughout the years and throughout these difficulties and hardships.
Yes, he had such a strong sense of duty, didn't he?
Yeah. Yes.
And a high level of integrity,
Mm-hmm.
which was amazing. So tell me about your plan to come on set as a background soldier.
Well, I don't know if it was my plan. It was your plan.
Okay, my plan.
But yeah, well, we were here with Mr. David the other day, and we were just talking, and then y'all had the idea of, it'd be great if we could have one of you guys kind of on set to help with some of the historical advising and things. And it was like, well, Mr. David's pretty old. I don't know if he can do it. And so I was offered of it. I'm looking forward to it. I get to act like I'm a part of it. So that's going to be fun. I'm sure.
Yeah, that'll be fun. And you can do a live stream or something while you're on set.
Oh, good, yeah.
And then you can tell everybody how accurate we are or inaccurate.
Hopefully
we're accurate. But
y'all, I mean, I watched the first little bit, and I was blown away by just how much of the story y'all were getting out. I mean, obviously, right? It's a television show.
Yeah.
But it's, very accurate. Compared to, other things like you say The Patriot or stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
or there was this series about Washington spies a few years ago, Turn. Compared to those, I think y'all are doing really well.
Ooh, like that. Well, good. Well, we try to stick to the story as much as possible, the true story, and then you have to fill in occasionally.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah.
But yeah, we want to tell the truth as much as possible. It's very high on our priority list for sure. So this is Washington's costume, his wardrobe, and it is made exactly to replica of what he would have actually worn. So it's like a super heavy wool, really thick, and it feels itchy.
It looks like it came out of the museum.
Yeah. And I love the amount of detail that was worked into this.
Yeah, it looks really good.
And so I don't think he's going to have to wear that on the next shoot, but because it's going to be summer and it's going to be really hot. So if he does, then we'll just have to bring ice packs and whatnot to keep it. But they wore that. I think they wore them even year round.
Yeah, pretty much. We have some uniforms at the library, and it is made out of that thick wool. And I can't imagine, having to fight in that in the middle of the summer, because that's when most of the fighting happened, right? They closed down shop for the winter.
Yeah.
But imagine, wearing something like that in the middle of Virginia, where it's humid. And it just, obviously it already doesn't sound like that much of a fun time, but to have that and then be hauling all your gear, your musket, your canteens, your powder horns, your food, a lot of that stuff the soldier would have been required to keep on his person. And you are laden down, and then you've got something like that.
And they weren't very big.
No, they weren't.
Washington was, but the other guys.
Washington was described by everybody as being head and shoulders taller than literally anybody else in the Army, just about. On average, the full-grown men of the period were only, about 5 to 5.5 feet tall, max. And then you have Washington, who was about 6'3", a little bit less than 6'3". And
he towered over everybody.
Yeah. He really did, right? Everybody looked up to him because they had to.
They had to. That's funny.
And so, Washington was the exception. And then all the muskets were that size too. So you have these little guys with a ton of gear, doing incredible things. They were really.
They were tough.
They were tough. Different breed.
We're soft nowadays. They were tough. So we have a social media question. What is Wall Builders for those who don't know?
Okay, well, Wall Builders is one of the largest private collections of early American artifacts outside of the Smithsonian. We have over 120,000 different books, letters, muskets from the Revolutionary War, over 120,000 different items, and it takes its name from the Bible book of Nehemiah of rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. So we take that approach, and we want to rebuild the foundations of America, and preserve it
awesome.
and our liberties for future generations.
That is awesome. I love it. I love what y'all do. It's just amazing. Okay, I think that concludes our time, and you need to go get your measurements so that we can get you in costume, and you're going to be able to see Jonathan on set. You're going to see him on set. It's going to be awesome, and that's going to be in June. So thank you for being on our show.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for the amazing work that y'all are doing with Washington's armor. I mean, it is so vital and important.
It is. And next up, we're going to talk to our composer, Tyler Smith. So let's take a moment just to appreciate some of his awesome composing that he's already done on Washington's armor. Hey, Tyler.
Hey, Tammy. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. So are you on a tour bus? What are you doing? Oh, it's not a very good connection.
I never know where I am, so I'm somewhere on the road, yeah.
Well, what are you doing? Are you doing something like, are you going to a concert or something?
Yeah, I'm playing one concert tonight. Coming back home this evening, so it's a really quick run. So
awesome. Well, thank you for taking time to talk to us for a few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm honored to be on here. So
okay, so I just want to ask you a few questions. Now, so you've done, we probably got 65% of Washington's armor finished, and you've already composed that portion of it. And so tell me about that. How was it composing and trying to make it historical, but then to a modern crowd? And I was asking you to do, to make it different too. So how was it whenever you were composing it?
Yeah, it was probably the most unique project I've ever worked on as far as stylistically, kind of the direction we went, because you're dealing with such an iconic time in history, that people are familiar with fairly, and so for me, it was the challenge of, taking something that would be appropriate for the time and the colonial aspects, and even some of the Native American kind of, there's a lot of influence in the score from that, but kind of having it have its own sound as well. It's something that could be, I think, enjoyed by a contemporary audience too. But as I was thinking, about when we were about to do this, I had to think through. I was thinking, well, what am I going to say about the score? And really, I think there are kind of three elements that I are kind of happening.
The connection is lagging a little bit, looks like. Can you hear me, Tyler?
On screen, you have, and then you have the more old world type. Am I cutting out a little bit?
Yeah. A little bit, but I've got you now.
A little bit, okay. But I was thinking about how really it's a convergence of three different kingdoms. You have the actual war that's going on between the English and the French.
Well, he said the English and the French. I got that.
Native Americans. But then you have also the divine aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, that's awesome. So, what do you think it's going to be like doing the? Can you hear me? We're having connection problems.
I can hear you.
Okay. So, what do you think it's going to be like doing the? Because we're about to do a battle, and so you're going to have to compose the battle, our very first battle scene. So what is your strategy going to be for that? What do you think that's going to be like?
I think a lot of what I've already done with what you guys have already filmed is kind of this kind of build to probably that battle, I'm guessing, because I actually haven't you guys are still filming it, obviously. But I think having some of the themes that we established in the beginning, particularly Washington's theme, I think is going to really kind of soar in that scene. But it's also going to be intense and epic too. So
awesome. Well, I'm excited about it. It's gonna be great. You've done a great job. You're super easy to work with, and really enjoyed working with you. So what was it like having your dad join our project that we were doing, and then your dad came on and joined with us?
Yeah.
Who is Michael W. Smith, in case you don't know. Michael W. Smith is Tyler's dad, and so tell us about that.
Yeah, so, when obviously most people think of my dad as, as the artist, but acting is something he's actually been doing for a while now. So I thought about, gosh, I feel like he would be great in this, and he's very, very patriotic, very, he loves our country, and I just was like, I think he would be up for doing something. So then I reached out to you and said, hey, what do you think about maybe having him take a small role or something like that, and then you said, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Not even a month later, he was down there shooting with you guys, I think.
Yeah, it happened really fast. Really fast.
Yeah.
That was fun. So what about, let's listen to another piece of your music. This is one of my favorites. I love this. So let's listen to this real quick and watch it. I love that. It's beautiful.
I forgot about that scene. Yeah, that was fun.
So what was the process in crafting that scene?
Well, that whole segment was really interesting, because and I guess in several scenes in Washington's Armor, there's some scenes with actual musicians in the background, so we have to kind of accommodate and make it fit into that. So that was kind of a unique and fun challenge to be able to do. So, and I think that's where more of the traditional kind of colonial style comes in. Sure.
Yeah, and you made it build. I like it when it starts out just a few instruments, and then it builds into something grand. So that's probably what I'm going to want on the battle scene too. I'm just giving you a little direction right now.
Awesome. Hey, I'll take it.
Awesome. So we have a few social media questions.
Sure.
One of them says, Tammy, why did you choose Tyler to compose the music for Washington's Armor?
There's several different themes that are kind of established so far in the movie, but I think probably I really like Washington's theme. I like his introduction. I think you guys played that clip earlier, and that's probably one of my favorites. And also, I really I have this. It's a very subtle thing because she only has appeared in a small part of it, but I really, really like Martha's theme as well. But that's just in the beginning stages, so.
Yeah. Cool. I do
excited to expound on those. Yeah.
Okay, and how did you get into composing? You have a musical family.
Yeah, very musical family. And I always loved film growing up too. So that was I wanted to be. I was always wanting to make movies and make music and stuff. So my brother is also in the film industry and a director. So growing up, he would. I started to write music to the films he would make. It started as a short film, and then he made a feature, and I did that. And I started to go, hey, you know what? I think I want to do this as a career. So here we are.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you made that decision. It's worked out. It's worked out. So let's see, Tammy and Tyler, how important is the music to telling the story? I think it's hugely important. And like I said, that's what makes you feel something, it connects to your spirit. What do you think, Tyler?
I agree with you. I think, you know, really what we're doing is we're trying to, I guess, getting the audience to step into this world, basically, that you've created. And this happens to be a true story, which makes it even more, I think, compelling, you know? So I think my job just has to do with sort of setting the tone and helping establish feelings and bring people into it to where, you know, when you're watching something and you're really moved, you almost forget that you're here. you almost feel like you're there almost. That's I think what our that's what our goal is here. So
I do too. That's awesome. Yeah, it connects you on an emotional level, and you know, you can see the visuals, and whenever the music comes into play, it like you said, it just brings you to that place, and I think it's just hugely important. So let's see another one. How do you two work together to create the music for each scene? Do you have different strategies for different scenes? I guess how we work together is you basically compose the scene, right? And then, or I'll give you some, you know, kind of what I envision it sounding like. But you're the expert on this. I'm definitely not. And so I think that you come up with something, and then maybe I make some tweaks or whatever. Right. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I mean, every project and director is so different. Tammy, you've been amazing to work with, and really, I think we understand each other, which makes it easy, you know. So, and obviously, I'm the language of music is one that not everyone knows, I guess, how to be fluent in, but everyone can kind of understand, you know, and you can express with a feeling or I want this emotion.
Right.
But I feel like, you know, I feel like it's worked. So
I do too. Well, you're extremely humble, and that makes a huge difference. So, well, thank you so much, Tyler. Thank you for talking with us today. Have fun on your concert tonight, and I look forward to working with you in the future. And it looks like we've about lost him anyway. Wow, that was good timing to... okay, so coming up, we are going to be joined by a special guest reveal. Hey guys, we're here at Capernaum Studios, and we're on the set of Washington's Armor, and we have a very special guest coming today.
I have a delivery for you.
And I'm so excited about it. I'm not going to tell you his name yet, but he is a musician.
We're so happy to have you.
Oh gosh, well thanks for letting me come and be a part of it.
His music has probably been in every church in America. Probably everybody that is a Christian has worshiped to his music.
Come on in.
Come on, the wardrobe trailer.
This is Angie. She's going to be the one that's assisting
Angie.
for wardrobe.
How are you?
So what happened was I got a call around Christmas time, so I really feel like that this was a Christmas gift from the Lord because it's so special. And he said, the guy that I talked to, which I will reveal later, he said that this certain someone might be interested in taking a role at Washington's Armor. He's been doing some acting, and so we're just so excited to have him.
Ends up being a pretty good match.
Good.
It's really special because when I first became a Christian, I didn't really know that there was Christian music, and so then I discovered him and his music, and it really helped me in my walk with the Lord. And I used to do sign language to his music, and so that was like the first time I started doing it at my church and performing in front of an audience, and I did so many of his songs, and it's really special that he's here today. Some of his songs are, giving you a hint now, Above All is one, like he did Breathe, he did Healing Rain, he did Forever, Forever God is Faithful. That song, that's the one that impacted my life the most. Hi.
Forever God is faithful. Wherever you are with us forever. Hi.
Hi. Oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you. I'm good.
The reveal.
This is the
Here we
reveal.
are.
This is Michael W. Smith, okay? If you didn't know, this is him in costume. You look great, by the way.
This is going to be fun. This is not my normal
Attire.
outfit for live shows. But I'm an actor today, and I'm pretty excited. So
That's right. We gave him a great role. Well, I'm super excited. I'm nervous. Can y'all tell? But this is awesome. I'm so glad to have you here at Capernaum and on set. I think you're going to do great.
I'm excited. I really am. It's this is a story that's been probably needed to be told for a long, long time, and thank you for championing that.
That's awesome. Well, let's go to set.
All right.
Yay.
Here we go.
Hi, Jordan.
Hello.
It's so good to meet you, kinda. I mean,
It's
you
nice.
know.
It's nice meeting you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Okay, perfect.
So this is the first time we've talked face to face, even though we're not in the same room. But so I'm so excited. This is Jordan Ross, no relation to Tim Ross, right?
Right. No, that I'm aware of, at least.
Yeah. So I'm so excited. We just now cast you like maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I saw your audition and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't need to see anybody else. This guy is great. So
Thank you so much.
you did amazing on that audition. I was like, this is La Force right here. So tell me about your role on The Chosen.
Yeah, so let's see. I found out that I booked that summer of 2018. So it's now been almost 3 years of getting to play this character. But it's amazing. It's every actor's dream to be able to have not only the consistency in the work, but also being able to keep coming back to the same character over and over and getting to develop them over a long period of time, because there are other roles for films or something I've done where I look back and I'm like, oh, it would have been cool to explore this, or to maybe I could have done this differently. But with The Chosen, I get to keep coming back, and if I have an idea, I'm like, oh, this might be interesting for little James. I can just do it next season or next episode or whatever. So it's been like a dream come true. It's been amazing.
So you've actually been to Capernaum Studios. You've been here before. We've never
Yes.
met, but you've been on property and filmed out here. So that's cool. So now you'll know where to come when you come to Washington.
Right.
Summer.
Yeah, it feels like home out there at this point.
That's cool. That's cool. So I wanted to play a little clip of you playing little James. So let's roll that right quick.
Cool.
That's good. The baptizer will want to use that.
Big James, I need you to help with crowd control. People are bickering and getting physical, and I can't help much in that department. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Gonna have to use my sword on them before the Romans.
So, let's see. How are we doing?
Well, how do I put this?
Well, are you serious? I'm worse off than I was.
Yes, you are.
I thought you said you were good at this.
I thought I was.
I can't get out of this now.
Sorry, James.
Yeah. So what was everyone talking about?
Not much. Just prophecy, outgrowing fame, the Messiah healing disease instead of overthrowing the Romans. Small topics like that.
Well, I'm not sorry I missed it. I'm ready for this day to be over.
What about out there? Anything happen in your short shift?
No, it's same as all day. One thing that is annoying me, though, is these people. They are believing in him and praising him, and don't get me wrong, that's great, but it's because he's healing them. The Samaritans.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he said. That's all they...
Awesome. You did so amazing. I love that.
Oh, thank you.
I love that. So you have a really good Hebrew accent. So, that. So tell me about, you know, working on that accent, and now you're going to be doing a French accent because you're playing a French character. So tell me how that transitions for you.
So that's my audition for this, for Washington's Armor, was actually the first time I've ever attempted a French accent. I've always had a pretty good ear for accents. Once I work on it for a day or two, I feel pretty good about it. With the Hebrew accent, we have a dialect coach that works with all the principal actors before each season as like a refresher. But now the Hebrew accent has become kind of second nature. In fact, whenever I did the Washington's Armor, the French accent, I kept having to tell myself, don't go into Hebrew, because I'm so used to that now. But it's, I actually have a friend who's a new cast member on The Chosen who lives in France, and he lives in Italy, but he's from France. And I called him and said, hey, can you just record these lines for me so I can hear how you say them in your dialect? And that helped a lot. But I've always loved accents, and I love the challenge, and it kind of helps. Doing the French accent helped so much get into the character of LaForce. So just once you get the accent down, I feel like a lot of the character work is done, because just doing that alone helps you get into that place a little easier.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Well, you're doing a great job. We also have a dialect coach, and his name's Rich Swingle. And so because we have so many different dialects on this show. There's, Dutch, which that one's kind of difficult. There's French, British, different kinds of British, Scottish, and so I was like, I'm a Texan, and I sound like a Texan. I'm not the one to teach them how to speak in how to speak in their dialect. So Rich has been amazing, and all the actors loved working with him. So we're going to have him back, so you'll get to meet him, and he's
exciting.
Amazing. So what challenges, what do you face playing historical characters? Do you think that's different than modern day?
There's definitely a little, there's always a responsibility, no matter whether it's a fictional character or a historical figure, because you want to service, if it's a fictional character, you want to service the creation of the writer. And with a historical figure, you want to do that actual person justice. So there's still a lot of pressure to get it right. But with historical figures, it's you almost, for these two at least, I feel like if I was playing a more modern day actual person, it would be a little different, because I'd have video and audio and stuff to go back and watch of that person to try to get their mannerisms down.
Right.
But with like Little James and Captain LaForce, I don't really have that. I just kind of have to go with, the clues. Whenever you look at the text that was written about them, looking at certain little clues about, okay, who might this person have been? What kind of mannerisms or gestures could kind of get that across. So it's almost like approaching it as if it's a original creation, but there is definitely a little bit of an added layer of pressure to get it right, for sure.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I love historical stuff. I love period pieces. That's all I'll ever do. I'm sure it's a period stuff, but it just brings you back to that time and that era, and what happened.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Same.
I'm excited about this. So what challenges do you face? You've spoken about your disability.
Mm-hmm.
So what challenges do you face when acting, if any? Maybe you don't have any, I don't know.
The biggest challenge, I actually, right before this video happened, I was doing a podcast where I talked about that exact thing. So the biggest challenge I face in terms of that is mostly psychological, getting in my own head and worrying about, as soon as I start to worry about what other people are going to think of that, or worry about oh, is this going to distract the audience or the director? Are they going to try to make my role smaller or whatever? That's when I'm not going to give the best performance that I can give because I'm focused on something else. So when I just let go, and for the most part, it's a and it's a minor disability. It's something that, you know, oftentimes, especially when I have like a lift in my shoe, people don't even notice it, but sometimes people do, and it's still something. I think insecurity is always there for all of us, and we are always going to be fighting against our own insecurities. But
that's right.
It's something that now I'm at a place where I'm just going to let go and do the work, and that's the way that I'm going to give the best performance possible. So just struggling with my own insecurities is the biggest issue in terms of that goes. But I've definitely, The Chosen in particular has helped me come a long way when it comes to that. Yeah.
So you have a new podcast. What's Your Limp?
Yes.
Is that right? So you're saying basically everybody has some kind of limp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about that.
Sure. It's essentially I'll be interviewing. This first episode was just me talking about my own story and my own path. But I'll be interviewing actors, athletes, public figures, motivational speakers about their insecurities, their limps, you know, the things they deal with and how they cope. And I think that's really important for the listeners to understand that they're not alone, that everyone struggles with something, even their heroes. And I think that my goal is to reach people and to show them that. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you're doing that because that is so true. I mean, we all do. I struggle with mine, and, you know, and we just have to keep going and, you know, be overcomers, you know.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so let's go to some social media questions. This is from Kingdom Warriors Youth. Is this not a series anymore? Does that mean person is from Kingdom Warriors Youth? Yeah, okay. And The Chosen? Are we talking about, oh, you were talking about Washington's Armor. Yeah, that's right. I'm all on The Chosen now. Yeah, so Washington's Armor is a 3-volume trilogy. So there's going to be like 3 feature-length films. And that's what we're doing, and that way we can release it hopefully around Thanksgiving, the very first one. So yeah, so let's hear another one. Let's see, this is from History Buff 2. Is it harder to portray a character from Jesus's time or Washington's?
Well, they're both pretty tricky because they were both very different times from what we're living in now. The way of speaking, like just the language that they would use, the cultures, the just societal norms, all of these different things are vastly different from where we're at now. But the thing that makes it easier is the humanity in them, whether it's someone in first century Jerusalem or a Frenchman in the 1700s in North America. Like they're all humans, and they still, just like we mentioned, everyone has insecurities, everyone has vulnerabilities, everyone has needs and desires, and all of those core needs, those core things that make us human are there. So that's what makes it easier, but yeah, I'd say that it's probably about the same between the two as far as the difficulty goes, but I'm up for the challenge.
Awesome. Well, I know you're going to do great in Washington's Armor, so I'm excited.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've got one from Steph Mama. What is the total goal y'all need to complete Volume 1 of this trilogy? And that is, we need $2.5 million to complete it. And then if we get up to 2.8, then we will be able to pay for the marketing as well as maybe start Volume 2, which would be amazing. Okay, let's see, what's the next one? Christ Star Smith. Hi, is there a perk for me to be able to come on set? Absolutely, there is perks for you to be able to come on set. You just look on the Indiegogo campaign and you can pick the one that brings you for a VIP set experience. I think that's going to be a fun one. Let's see what else we've got. From Be Happy For Me, will Jeremy be in any scenes with Jordan? He will be on set. They will be on set together. So yes, well, yes, I think so. I think that's a yes. Let's see what else. Because you guys know each other, right, Jeremy? You know Jeremy?
Yeah, and Willie as well. So
I am breaking protocol. And I'm just going to see if I can squeeze in here. Jordan, what's up, brother? I got a question for you that I think a lot of people would really like to know the answer
What's
to.
up?
Sure, okay? Are you ready? I can't hear
Yeah.
you, but I'm going to assume you're ready.
Okay.
Why did you not consider following your dreams and playing football, man? I've seen you in your hands. I'm going to tell you what, guys. If you didn't know this about Jordan, please go check out his Instagram. Watch the football videos. This isn't even a question. I just wanted to come out here and give you some love, man, and tell you that I'm so grateful that you're a part of this with us. I look forward to working with you. Yeah, man, I just want to give you love. And please go check out his Instagram and check out the football videos because you're not me. Odell Beckham, who? That's all I'm saying. I got to get out of here. We look forward to working together, man. Love you.
Yeah, love you, man.
Yeah, I heard that y'all play football a lot on set.
Yes. Yeah, we had to stop doing it in costume because we go all out. So the costumers were kind of getting on to us. So we
ripping your costume and whatnot.
yeah, getting grass stains on them. But no, that's like how we kind of pass the time on set. So it's fun.
Awesome. Well, that's fun. Well, that's exciting. I love to see y'all together. That's going to be great. So we've got a question from Pat Wesson. Will there be any scenes in the House of Burgess? I'm a history buff and love this stuff. And yes, there will be. That is going to be on Volume 2. And so we'll have the big House of Burgess scenes in the Capitol building, and that's going to be in Volume 2. So we're looking forward to that as well. And then Colton here, will Tammy be in any scenes? You know, it's funny because I tried to be a background in one of the scenes, and they made me a dress because I really want to just wear the dress, even if it's like 30 minutes. Just want to put the dress on, and then I'll be like, okay, I'm tired of the dress. I want to get back in my jeans. But it didn't work out. I didn't get to be in the background scene. It was just, you know, it just wasn't happening that day. So I don't know. Probably not. Maybe in the last one, we'll see. Well, thank you, Jordan. You're going to be great on Washington's Armor, and I'm really excited about your podcast too. I think that's going to encourage a lot of people because you're exactly right about that. Everybody's got their, thing that they've got to overcome, and we need to trust the Lord to help us to get through those things and protect our minds so that we don't, not let ourselves do it or not let ourselves get out of our comfort zone. And that's my tendency. I get to where I don't want to get out of my comfort zone because you just don't. It's not comfortable. But if you do, then that's when God can grow you and bring you to the next level that He wants to bring you to. So.
Yeah, change is necessary for growth. And yeah, I think that's awesome. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. I'm excited to change things up and play a bad guy. It's going to be fun to be kind of a creepy bad guy for once.
I know. It's going to be really strange, isn't it, for you to be? I don't know how your fans are going to like that.
Yeah, right. It'll be fun though.
Well, God bless you, Jordan, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Well, I hope you have enjoyed the show today. We're hoping to do more shows like this, so wake up with game talk today. I'm just so flustered over Jordan. I just want to tell you that Wake Up with Washington, we're probably going to be doing more of those, and so you need to just be with us, and we can show you behind the scenes footage, we can have great interviews, and we would just love for you to be a part of that. So I really want to encourage you on something. I really want you to be encouraged to join us on this journey. We're all on a journey. God has given us each a purpose. Sometimes we don't follow that journey. Sometimes we get off of the journey, which I have a lot in my life. But the way to follow that journey is the Bible and reading the Word of God. And if you read the Word of God, He will show you what your purpose is, what your journey is, because God has a great plan for all of us. And we hope that you will become Washington's patriot and help us on our journey and to protect and preserve history and to create great content that will be inspiring and encouraging and will not tear down American values, but will build them up. So God bless y'all.
Where, madam, do you get your facts?
Tis in your journal, sir. Tis all in your journal.
Hey guys, I'm Tammy Lane. I'm the director of Washington's Armor, and we are calling on all American patriots who want to preserve our history to help us make a difference and pass the torch to the next generation.
Some would have you to believe today that all of this is the work of chance and not that of divine providence.
God was very much a part of his life and drove him on many of his decisions.
Said nay, Mr. Gist. We are not only emissaries of the crown, but ambassadors of the divine. We shall cross, and without delay.
Washington's Armor is a miraculous account of the young George Washington, a providential story that's still needed today.
How, George, do you respond to this indictment that some would say to be unreasonable reasoning in the age of reason, sir?
We are committed to the highest quality with exceptional cast and crew who are passionate about historical accuracy and production value.
They butchered him in front of his wife and children so that no provincial, nor Indian, not loyal to the French would dare venture to go where you and the governor would have us go.
By joining us and making this film, you are not only going to be helping us to preserve the history, but you are going to help us to tell the truth about history and tell this untold story of young George Washington and God's divine protection over him.
The boy dies in the wilderness.
He led us into Ottawa territory. That Indian will find his brothers and they will hunt us down.
To you, my dear boy, I am simply Sally.
Become Washington's patriot and support Washington's Armor on the Indiegogo account.